Well, good morning. Join me this morning. Different venue, different method on the pole. I'm actually down on the cut-off channel, which is a venue I'd never fished before. Got my mate Charlie just setting up behind me. He had some skimmers and hybrids, some roach and perch and whatever a couple of weeks ago, and there's been the odd bream coming out. So thought just something different. We'll unlock the vault and get the pole out. It took me a few minutes to realise that I didn't have to attach a reel, but yeah, put a bit of elastic in and set a few rigs up. Thought we'd give it a go. He's talked me into it, so if it don't work, it's his fault. So like I say, it's something I don't do a lot of is the pole. So I'm fishing out about 13 metres. I'll put 6 balls of ground bait in, and I've got another swim 13 metres down to my right, where I've put some chopworm and castor in as well. So took you through on the old pole front. I'm fishing 011 mainline. I've got more Bennick Silverlight pole floats there. That's 2 gram. Elastic is the MIDI 6 to 8, the orange solid, and I've got a 1.75 Olivet. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 number 10 droppers, and I've just got number 10 under the Olivet there as well, and I've got 6-inch 09 down to a Preston size 16 PR 333, so it's quite a light hook. I'll say there's some smaller fish out there. I've had a roach, a rudd and a small skimmer, so I might swap that elastic over to a number 5 or a number 6 depending on what happens. Chopworm, I've got 014 down to 011. I've got 1.5 Dino Nasus float, a 1.25 Olivet. I've got a couple of number 9 droppers there. Fished that about 6 inches over depth. Float there. I've got to put a depth mark. I've got a depth marker just there, so I'm fishing about 4 inches over depth. And I've got some NG elastic. I think this is the Microbore 8 to 12. So it's quite soft, but also it's quite powerful. Powers up quite quick. So that's the line that I'm going to be fishing. 13.5 metres down to my right. Got some casters, got some worms, got some red maggot, got some fluoro maggot, and of course we've got some ground bait. Now, ground bait today, see there's a dark mix, that is Bait-Tech Pro Natural Bream and Bait-Tech Pro Natural Fine. Late fine, so that's dark, so it's darking the mix off. Clarity of water, it's got a little tinge of colour to it, but like I say, I've got dark ground bait. I put 6 in, sort of Jaffa size, cup those in, and all I've done with the chopworm is I've actually left it in the soil, but I've put a little bit of ground bait with it, so I can just sort of squeeze it and make a ball, and that'll just slop that in. Just sort of on that inside line. I've got a bait dropper if I need it, hopefully. So I put 3 balls in down there, and that's basically for perch or tench. Now I'll be fishing a size 16 hook, probably a decent sized bit of worm. I'll do that. There's a lot of duckweed about, but thankfully that's sort of started to blow away a little bit now. So let's get out of the pole. Wind's a bit of a pain, but so I'm fishing as a single fluoro maggot. There you go. Flick that over the top of the weed. Say this is getting a little bit alien to me now, fishing the pole, but we'll have a go. See how we get on. So I'm just going to drop that in just to the right of where I'll put my ground bait. Now I'll let it settle, then I'll just drag that up over the top, hold it a little bit over the top of the ground bait and gently lower it down. I've got a bump bar in front of me, plain simply because with the wind blowing, that is a lot easier to hold. Oh, someone's followed that down. Little roach. Lovely little roach. Wind's a bit of a nightmare. That was sort of southwesterly, but that has swung round to the west, so that is blowing literally straight down the middle. So it's a bit of a pain. It's meant to ease off a little bit, but need be, can always get the feeder out. So I'm just resting that on the bump bar a little bit. Just to help the presentation because of the wind. Got small fish out there, which is good. Probably should have netted that really. Nice roach. So it got quite, even though that's a 6 to 8, it is very, very soft. So, a little bit softer than what I remember. Hence the reason I nearly made a cockabobby. Over the weed. Those duckweeds are going to be a bit of a pain for a while till it blows through. Just flick that in, hold it a bit, slow that down. Bit of an indication there. So all the time I've been up here, I've never, it's a little bit bigger, I've never fished this water. So Charlie's fished it a few times. Trouble is, this weed now snags that fish up. Put it out there a bit. Not used to all of this shipping back everything. There you go. We'll get that one. Nice roach. Nice roach. See if we can get one or two more. Perchy perch. Double caster on the pole. See if we can't, see if there's any that size roach out there. Had a few roach and some rudd. Had a few perch down the sort of left right hand side on the worm. I went quiet, so I've just topped that up and I'll put a small ball of ground bait on this line as well. There is a snag just out in front, and the same on that right hand side. Bite's eased a little bit now, the sun's got a little bit higher. Like my mate Ian says, caster fishing is a disease. Seems to be once you get your first fish on it, you can't, you know, you can't fish anything else. But Ian definitely catches a few on it, so it's catching and there's no known cure. Got a few nice rudd as well. Like I say, there's a bit of weed out there which I think it's just got a bit of undertone. There's a bit of stream of weed, and that's just catching a little bit as the rig's going through the water. Might be foul up. No, no. Double caster, it's just touching bottom. In fact, it's got it down him, so what I'm going to do is just shallow up a tiny bit. Weren't much of a bite, but like I say, he's got it right down him, so I'm going to shallow up a touch. About an inch. Got depth marker, so sometimes when the weed's been a bit of a problem, what I've been doing, I've got a little bit of pole elastic there on the number 4 section, and all I've been doing is just wrapping the line over the top of it, then shipping out past the weed and just dropping it off. Nice little tip if there's a bit about, like I say, similar to like do with paste fishing, but sort of just wrap it over, turn it round a couple of times, then when you're over the top of the weed, just turn your pole round and that'll drop straight off. A bit more weeds come in front of me, so I'm just going to do that again now. So just turn it round about a turn. Be careful shipping out that it doesn't wrap over a bit in front of it. Then when you're clear of the weed, just turn it round and off it comes. And that enables you to get your hook bait out there nice and cleanly. Without anything going to mask the hook or anything, hook bait or anything like that. So like I say, I've just took an inch of depth off that. Right. I mean, yesterday, like I say, the weed was more over the other side. That wind swung right round to westerly now. And it's a bit of a nightmare, in all honesty. So there's a bit of a weed bed in front of me, so just drop that down just to the right. Bit of a nightmare at the moment. This wind's got up. See what I mean about the weed. As you can see, it's a bit of a nightmare, but it's dropped on that stream of weed again. Clear that time. Still on that weed. So I think there's a bit of undertow, so whatever weeds there is just flapping about in the flow. And clear of it this time. Wind's getting worse, I think, not less. So it's a bit of a nightmare. There's a lot of bites out there. It's a bit of a job to hit. Those that know, like with the cut off, I mean, before I moved up into this area, they used to have loads of big matches. My mate, he sort of said to me, you know, they get a load of big matches with, they'd actually fish both the banks. You know, anglers be both sides of the bank. Hard to believe really, because sometimes now you never ever see an angler hardly at all on the bank along here. One or two further down. Yeah, it's sort of like a venue of yesteryear, I would say, really, for a lot of people, those that know. Just drop it just down to the right, hold it as it goes through, almost sort of fishing in line with a small willow tree which is opposite. Get in the right place, get a bite. Duckweed covered roach. There we go. Beautiful fish. So I've had one or two like that. See if we can get one or two more. Okay. Spat the hook out. Fish out there. Just trying to get the rig to settle. It's an absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Wind's changed direction a little tiny bit now, which is making it even worse because it's now blowing all the weed over from the other side. I'm just wrapping that over that bit of elastic. It's the only way I can get it out there. Lower it down. Bump bars are very handy bit of equipment today. Skimmer. Just put a little bit of extra depth on. A little bit smaller than what I've been used to of late, but beautiful fishing on the left. Nice to see them when they're that size. Don't even think that got to the bottom properly that time. Just wrapping it over that elastic. There she goes. I'm dropping it downstream, just holding it, and once I know I can get through a little bit of weed, just inching it back through. Try the worm again in a minute. Rod. Beautiful rod. We're ready, hell. Oh. Lovely fish. Bit of everything today. Rudd, roach, skimmers, and some perch. Clearing over a bit, which can only be a good thing. Try single caster this time, just to see. Bury the hook. We move there. Charlie's singing, so that can only be a bad thing. A little bit bigger. Took by a predator. I think the roach has just been took by a predator. A predatory fish. Oh no! It's a predatory fish, Charlie boy. It wasn't when I hooked it. Oh dear, you couldn't write it. But here you go. It's a Percy pike. There's the fish that he took. It's a Percy pike. Absolute, perfect, lean, mean, killing machine. Just like me. Hey! Come on, baby! Quick go on the old chop. I've just put another couple of balls of ground bait out on the longer line. The wind's eased a little bit. No big fish as yet. Oh, this skimmer. The skimmer took a liking to a big old bit of worm. Fine, come on. So they're not big fish. What's the catch? Perch. Gobbled it right down. So all I'm doing is just cutting the head off the worm. That was probably that pike, Charlie. Said he had some bubbles come up. It'd be nice if it stays like that. Probably won't be able to see where I'm fishing, but which is literally sort of down to the right of me swim. They're not huge fish. Lesson number one, don't swing them out. It's actually a rudd that time. Just going to put a sort of small bit of worm on. Actually, I'm going to put two on. So, just 2 bits of worm. Should have netted that fish. Schoolboy error. Getting caught on a little bit of weed there. So I'll just put it down to the right a bit. That's it. That'll be that weed. Just hooked a fish and went straight, and that pulled it straight into that weed. Little rod. There you go, we're catching on, caught on the worm, caught on the caster. A lot of fish out there. Nice to come to a different venue and, like I say, something that's on the doorstep and never fished before. One more go on this and I'll get back over on the ground bait line. Put a couple of balls out there, get back on the caster. There's 1 or 2 fish about. A lot of weed about, it's an absolute nightmare. Obviously that silky weed, there's some floating in front of me and it is an absolute nightmare. We'll do, I'm going to have a quick lay on the worm over on that ground bait line just to see. You never know, there might be something. something lying about. There's a little bite there. It just shows that there's fish all over the place. Absolutely everywhere. Little silver bream. So, scores on the door is Tench 1, Stevie 0. I was picking up the odd roach on the light gear, and Mr. Tinker decided to grab hold of it. 0918 hook, number 6 elastic. When I struck into it, didn't think it was a tench, because it hardly fought at all. Then sort of coming in front of me, it kicked a bit. Got out the weed here, went in the weed there, and that was all she wrote. So shouted a few obscenities at the weed. Well, I'm now on I'm actually fishing now to see if there's any bigger fish about. Got 014 main line. Fish no 12 to a size 16. I've either got 2 pieces of worm, double caster. Charlie's just had a decent skimmer. But the weed has just been an absolute pain in the backside. It's you just can't. Every now and again you can lower your rigging and it'll get through and you get a bite like that. But sometimes the hook bait's just getting held up on the weed. And that's that really. Oh, you got him, Charlie? Bottom again? I'm actually fishing, trying big bits of worm. Have you? Missed a tench then? So he's just lost a tench as well. Maybe that's because it's gone a bit overcast, light's going, you know, sun's gone in a bit, don't know. But I haven't fed any more bait since I hooked that fish. Sort of a bit reluctant to really. Say it's just getting it so it falls off that weed and it gets in the right place. I would say normally when I was fishing fishing on the light gear, you could see that was holding it up. And a minute went through, you probably get roach, sort of that sort of size, or a little skimmer. But my actual worm swim, I've had a few perch on. Like I say, it's just nice to come to a different venue. It's on the doorstep, they never fished before. Definitely come back and give it another go. We'll come back a little bit later in the year when the weeds died off a bit, because there's a lot out that you can't see. So yeah, it's been enjoyable. We've had a few fish, smashed a few rigs up, broke some elastic, cursed, swore at Charlie several times. So it hasn't been a bad day. So I'm just going to sit out for a big fish now for about an hour. And I'm going to pack up and head off all of about 20 minutes down the road. Just about at the end of the session now. I'm sat laying on just to see if there's a better fish about. I've had a couple of roach and perch. Just on double caster, can't get a touch on the worm. Put a heavier rig on now, so to get through that weed, it's a bit harder to distinguish that you're through the weed. Just with the light rig, it's sort of holding it up, but the heavier one, sort of hopefully that Olivet's just dragging it through. A lot of fish about. I mean, on the light line, on light gear, getting bites all the time. I mean, this is, you know, it's heavy gear, but still getting bites on caster on it. So there's a lot of fish out there. A lot of predators about as well, perch and pike. What's that? Go. It's the last fish of the session, and it's a little perch. Here we are. Lovely way to end the session on the pole. A few hiccups along the way, but it's been a great day. Catch you next time on the bank. Oosh.